Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Darrell Andrews, better known as Coach D. He is a motivational strategist, speaker, author, and executive coach. He has consulted and coached thousands of people and organizations on self care, leadership, core values, and teamwork. Welcome to
Mm.
the show, Darrell.
Ajay, it's truly my honor, my friend. I love your energy, and I'm looking forward to this wonderful conversation on a very pertinent and significant topic. Yes.
You are welcome to the show, Darrell. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We
Yes,
will
sir.
be talking about self care strategies for a busy lifestyle in
Mm.
today's time. First, two questions. Dalal, one is why are you known as Coach D? I can sense that maybe it is because of your word, but to continue to be called in this year form, it needs a lot of effort. So I want to understand that for the audience. And second thing is, what is about the self care itself, and you must be talking about self care from quite a long time. Today, it
Yes.
is a very pertinent word. So you were
Mm.
ahead of your time. Help us understand about self care then and now.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you, Coach D. Well, I had the honor and privilege. I'm a college graduate with a degree in business management and marketing. And so, one thing I learned years ago was I took a course on branding. And so I knew that after a very successful corporate career, I wanted to go independent and do some training and coaching and things of that nature. And I said, well, what am I going to be known as? you know, and as you know, whenever you build a business, you want to have a brand that's centered around something. So I'm a former athlete. I played college football, high school. I was a free sport all star in high school, and I loved how my coaches brought the best out in me. You know, and so I said, well, I said I learned a lot and achieved a lot from my coaches. I'm just gonna call myself Coach D because what I want to do is to bring the best out in people when it comes to their life, to their careers, to their businesses, in the same principles that apply to coaching a team and athletes apply to careers in life. You know, you try to keep the course, you keep people on directions, create accountability, create motivation, things of that nature. So that's where the Coach D comes from. Darrell Coach D Andrews. Now, as far as self care, I'll tell you something. Yes, I've been teaching it a long time. It kind of started in the realm of training and development for organizations and corporations and businesses because people were stressed out in the workplace and that minimized productivity. And so, you know, companies and organizations didn't know what to do. They were creating these wellness programs, but the wellness programs weren't working. like, well, we have 5 people out of 20,000 enrolled in our wellness program. And what I shared with them was simply the people didn't take ownership of self care. Self care, let me start by saying this. I know, Ajay, we're going to have a wonderful conversation around it. Self care is a precursor to wellness. Other words, you can't tell me to do wellness. I have to tell myself. I have to say, I'm going to do certain things to take care of myself to produce an outcome. And so the reality is with self care, our thing is we're trying to get people to take ownership of their mental health, their wellness journey by taking care of themselves. You know, and so we see it as an imperative, and particularly globally with so much stress and anxiety today, that we've turned it into coaching programs, we've turned it into training and development. And I'll tell you something, I'll say this lastly, it's truly our passion because we've seen a lot of people's lives change as a result of owning their self-care journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand when you started talking about self care some time back,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
now the way we look at it, especially you talk about, that it's critical post pandemic. So help us
Mhm.
understand about the difference. Is there something more that people need to do now? How has
Mhm.
uh, post, COVID
Yes.
changed that? Or is it about because people are more online, always connected? Help us understand because self care is a very normal word now people hear, but not everybody is able to do it or actually know how to get to it.
That's a very, very good question, Ajay. Very good question. Um, let's go pre-pandemic. and let's look at post. We're going to start with pre. First of all, it's always been something that we need to focus on. It's just the way it is. If we want to have balance, if we want to have mental stability, if we want to have better relationships, if we want to minimize stress, things like that, it's always been important to do self-care. So like I said, I've been sharing this for 20 years. So we've been talking with individuals for a long time. So prior to the pandemic, it was, the need was there, but I don't want to say it wasn't as much as an imperative as it is now. And the reason why, let's jump ahead post-pandemic. Okay, I mean after the pandemic. Post-pandemic, we had almost a year and a half of people being isolated. We had right now in the United States, I can't say worldwide, but I can say in the United States, there's a 20% clinically diagnosed depression rate. When you talk about millennials, it's 35%. We had young people that were locked in their homes, unable to interact with their friends and peers, which is just tragic. My daughter had to do her first 2 years of college out of an apartment building. My son had to graduate from college with a mail, because 3 months from his graduation, all right, they sent him home. And so when you look at the confluence of factors, then let's say this. I'm very careful what I'm about to say, because people always go back and forth about this. But yes, we are a more isolated people now. We spend a lot of time on devices. We don't interact with people as much as we used to. And that has had a significant impact on us psychologically. So when you look at all those things, you start realizing that if we don't take the time to decompress, look at the bigger picture, think about what do I need to do to make sure that I'm whole and sound inside, take time for myself, do things that I enjoy doing. I focus on myself so much more so than others, because we spend so much of our time focusing on others. What I find myself is in this kind of cocoon, like I'm just locked in, and it all becomes all about my thinking, and I'm just thrown off. So self-care today is, like I said, it's an imperative. It's for the health and wellness of our globe. We need more people to do this, because we are becoming we're becoming distant from each other. We're becoming disconnected. The depression is causing people to isolate. And what we're saying is, no. You don't have to do all of that. You need to just take some time to put energy into yourself by taking self-care seriously. So pre-pandemic, it was a need. Post-pandemic, we got to do it. We just have to do it. Yes.
Right. So how does one start with, self-care? You talk about systems of self-care. Now, help us understand that. Secondly, Darrell, is that in different cultures, the meaning of self-care can be different.
Yes.
In you take care of your family, you take care of their requirements, and in that sometimes you put their interests first. That is love. How do you differentiate between love, care, and self-care? And so I want to understand from you about that while implementing these strategies, these systems that you talk about. Help us understand from that, because this message is going to globally to a lot of people, so they would like to understand things a bit from their cultural aspect as well.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you something. Again, another great question. You ask good questions. And it's important to understand, I'm a father with 4 beautiful children, okay? And my wife and I were told it was medically impossible to have kids, so we consider our kids miracles, right? And I've been married for 30 years, coming up this August. I pride myself on love. I just love my family, and I will do anything for them. And like you said, in different cultures, it has more of a meaning, because that's what everything is centered around, family and things of that nature. And we're wired to do for others. All right. So what we're saying is, don't in any way become selfish. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about being selfish. We're talking about being intentional in doing things that's going to cause me to be mentally, physically, spiritually, across the board sound. And what that means sometimes is I need to take a little bit away from doing so much for others and just do a little bit for myself. It doesn't mean that I now totally disconnect from everyone because I'm just that important. That's not what we're saying. We're saying is, in order for us to be more effective in impacting those in our sphere of influence, be it our children, our families, or in the workplace, because that's a big issue right there, is that the more I do self-care, this is a very important statement that I want every one of the viewers to get. The more I do self-care, the more fuel I put into my body. In other words, using a car scenario, when you fill the tank up in the car, it can go longer. It can drive further. But try, Ajay, driving a car with less than a quarter tank of gas and see how far you're going to go. You know, and so we're saying, fill your tank up. And then as you go to pour that love out, guess what? You have more to give. And if I had a glass in my hand, and if I could, and a cup, a bowl right here, and the glass was empty, and I went to pour, what you would see is nothing. And that's what a lot of people are giving from, Ajay, which is causing depression, which is causing stress. They're giving from an empty tank. We look at self-care as not just doing, manicures and pedicures and going to the beach. And, people look at that and say, that's self-care. That's a part of it. What we're talking about is the psychology, the mindset that's needed to have balance in my life so that I can be more effective at work. I can be more effective in my business. I can be more effective with my children and my spouse. That's what we're talking about. We're not saying that you have to eliminate everything and everyone. We're saying just give yourself some time to fill your tank up. That's what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Darrell. Well explained. Now, help us understand about, you talk about the systems, establishing systems of self-care. And people who you care for, many of them also care about you. But the problem, Darrell, is in today's time, there are people who are great takers. They will take till they take all away your energy. And the problem is they become barriers to the real people who care about you. How do you establish those systems of self-care where the people who care about you are very much within your access, and the people who want to, who want to only take away from you, they are eliminated, because it is very difficult to eliminate or actually know about till you face difficult times or till you start talking about yourself. So how do you do that? Do your systems talk about establishing such systems in place, both in work, in also in personal life? Because in work also, people, your managers, and they will keep on praising you. Take away, do the work at home. Can you do? And they will take all away the credit, all the credit. And the day you say, "Listen, I got some work for myself. I need to take care," they will think you are no longer the. That is where this great resignation came in. That is where the quiet quitting is still going on. Help us understand. And when you say organization, you have consulted thousands of people in organizations. What is it that they come to you for? Is it such a difficult thing that those brains, big brains who are running these organizations are not able to realize it? Then what's the use of talking such great thought leadership stuff all across the world? I want to understand from you in this backdrop, you are the expert for today.
Well, listen, man, like I said, boy, I tell you, you're nailing some good ones, man. First of all, let's talk a moment about the Great Resignation. Well, the Great Resignation, again, was a byproduct of the pandemic. It just was people started to realize something's off in my life. Wait a minute, something's not right. I need to do something about this. I'm home with my kids, and my kids aren't what I thought they were because I'm with them more now, and I'm looking at them and like, what did I do? Like, what am I doing? And so the Great Resignation was a byproduct of people becoming aware of what was taking place with them personally, and that they weren't going to go back to a place of employment with a controlling, hardcore, in your face boss. They said, wait a minute, I don't even have the bandwidth to handle that anymore. Do you know what I just came through? Do you understand what I was just challenged with? And we do, one of my other books besides Self-Care Movement is a book titled Post-Pandemic Leadership, The Key to Recruitment and Retention. And what we're saying is that, listen, people today are not the people that they used to be. And if you're going to treat them negatively, guess what? So to answer your question in a couple of ways, we have a thing with some A's that I'm going to throw at you, 4 specific A's. One is awareness. Companies and individuals have to become aware of the fact all right, that, hey, you know what? We're unhealthy. The way we communicate with each other, the way we interact with each other, we're unhealthy. And we're trying to produce outcomes from an empty tank. All right. And then, once you have this awareness, you got to have an acceptance. Acceptance is this is a broken system. This is broken. We're broken in the way we communicate, we're broken in the way we operate. I've had companies I've consulted that have done billions of dollars in business and have people that have lost their minds. They have all this money, but they have terrible organizational culture. So you got that acceptance, and then from the acceptance, then we have to go to action. What's the plan? These are our 4 A's. What's the plan? Okay, we have unhealthy people. Our leaders are unhealthy. Our lives are unhealthy. Are we just going to keep grinding, or are we going to slow down and we're going to say, what do we need to do to create this healthy culture in our home, in our business, in our careers? Okay, so we have to understand that. So we have to have that. We have that awareness, and then we have that. And so then the last one is accountability. Now we have to. This is the systems part, where now I recognize the fact, I've accepted it, I've acknowledged, hey, we have problems. Now what I'm going to do is put systems in place to monitor and measure rest, to monitor and measure exercise, to monitor and measure diet, to monitor and measure community, to monitor and measure culture, community, interactions. I'm not trying to say I'm becoming robotic. What I'm saying is I am truly accepting the fact that I need to do something. Those companies that won't take the time to do that, here's what I'm going to say to you. As we're listening to Ajay's show right now, your place is going to be a revolving door. People are going to come in, they're going to go out. If your leaders are bashing, get the job done, hardcore, that is over. That ship has sailed. You have to discern and get some soft skills. You have to learn how to be compassionate. You need to learn how to be learn a little emotional intelligence. Learn how to get people to accomplish things without tearing them down to do it. And lastly, care enough about their wellness that you're willing to, as an organization, bring people in to maybe assist you in building systems. And on a personal level, I just want to address one thing you said, and I'll be done with this. You have to put boundaries in place with people. This takes confidence. I need to tell people I love, people that are friends, listen, I love you, but here's the situation. I love you enough that I got to take care of me. And if you think that my life is just about me giving to you all the time, I can't do that. I'm going to tell you something, Jay. There's people in my life, and I'm going to be really candid and brutally honest, that I had to cut off. I had to tell them, you know what? I love you with every ounce of who I am, but you just take all the time. You just come and you want, you take, you want. Listen, if it can't be balanced, then I don't want this relationship anymore. Now, that's hard with family. You can't say that to your kids and things like that. So you got to find ways to try to let them know in a loving manner. But some of those people that's on the fringes, you got to say, listen, I love you. I do. I think you're great people. But my health, my wellness, and my vitality means something. And if you care about me, you're going to care about me enough to know that I need to do some things for myself sometimes. Because if I don't, I can't even be my best for you. And so the systems part is measuring. Put systems in place. I always tell people get a journal and write out what it is that I need to accomplish as far as those categories of rest, because rest is a big one. People don't get enough sleep nowadays, and it affects them psychologically and physically. Diet, I'm not saying that we have to throw everything away, but be accountable to the fact that I need to be careful of how much caloric intake I have and foods that I'm eating, and in relationships, taking time with people and all of that. And then go do things that are beneficial to myself, things I want to do. So you have to, wish I had more time to go into details, but you have to measure this stuff. And you have to say, just like I'm measuring business and just like I'm measuring finances and all of that, I need to measure self-care that leads to wellness. Because listen to this. Here's a goal. I'll say this when I'm done. This part here. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You can have goals all day long, but if you don't have systems, those goals will just be good ideas. So that's just something. I know I said a lot in that mouthful, but I spoke to corporations, I spoke to individuals. But you got to look at that. You have to have that accountability. You have to have that awareness. You know what I mean? You have to put that action plan in place, and you need to stay with it and create accountability systems and partners, which we do with our organizations. We put them in pods, and they get together and they meet twice a month around self-care.
Right, Darrell. Let's look at the future and the present. Going into the future, 2024, what is it that organizations come to you nowadays? Because
Yes.
the systems of self-care and organizational development, isn't this very basic? What is it that they don't understand and they want to understand from Coach D? I want to understand that.
You know what? That's again another brilliant question. Let me say this. You know what, Ajay? We're all good at something. We're good at something. Some people are good at building billion-dollar businesses. Some people are good at being doctors and lawyers, and some people are good at being teachers. The assumption is that if I'm a corporate executive, let's say, or the head of a nonprofit, that I have, because of my position, I have the skill sets to create a culture that's a healthy culture. That's not true. Why? Because they're not experts at that. They're expert at sales. They're experts at marketing. They're not expert at when it comes to people. How do I keep my people sound, healthy, and whole? So when they come to us, they're coming to us because we become a part of that team. Well, we're now taking these highly paid, some cases not so highly paid, people and saying, listen, this is what you need to do. It's like executive coaching. You need coaching. You need somebody that's going to hold you accountable to doing these things. And every other week, couple times a month, 3 times, we're going to meet and we're going to analyze down to the most infinite level the things that you're doing when it comes to self-care. Okay, I said I made a commitment. I'll give an example. I'm an executive and I don't get rest. I get 3-4 hours of rest. I'm going to bed sleeping. Now that executive say, okay, we're not gonna say cut down to, let's get 5 hours a night. Okay, maybe let's start there. We don't have to do 8 because that's the optimal. We're gonna do 5. So what I want you to do for the next few weeks, you're gonna shut down. Okay, you're gonna shut down at certain time. No matter what it is, you're going to shut down. And what we're gonna do is this: you are going to document in your journal. I went to bed at 12. I got up at 5. I went to bed at 12. And in 2 weeks, we're going to get together. We're going to say, how many times did you do that? And we're going to help them remain accountable. So, my friend, it's just basic coaching principles. When you just like we're coaching for leadership, just like we get coaching for finances, just like we get coaching for anything, they're coming to us because they want coaching for self-care. This is important. Self-care that leads to wellness. And let me say this. This is really important. I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning. I may have, but I want to say it again. Self-care is a precursor to wellness. That's just it. I'm 61 years old, and this morning I was bench pressing and running in the gym. I run around my neighborhood and community. I'm very clear. This last few weeks haven't been the best on diet because we were on a cruise ship. But I'm very clear on what I eat and what I put in my body. Why? Because it's mine. So self-care is a precursor to wellness. And what I'm trying to say here is we have to understand, Ajay, that if we don't take it seriously, if these companies don't take it seriously, then it's going to lead to challenges in the workplace, turnover issues. At home, it's going to be problems with the family. I'm not going to feel good about myself. And in 2024, we're going in, all right, with the self-care movement. We're going to change things. It's not just me getting contracts to work with organizations. We want to take this global. So we're going to be doing individual type programs too for everyone, not just companies and organizations, to make self-care a priority.
Wonderful. There is much to learn from you about
Yes.
self-care, Darrell, and
Yes.
there are your books also. You have spoken now. You keep on
Yes.
speaking. You talk to organizations. You talk to
Yes.
individuals. Tell us a bit about your books so that people who want to
Yes.
understand more from those books, they will
Yep.
talk. They can do the
Ab-
self-care
abs-
movement,
yeah.
post-pandemic leadership. If
Yes.
you are writing
Yes.
anything more,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Both of those books, to be honest with you, I'm a chapter away for both of them being done because I'm a stickler for perfection. So I would write them and then I would like this doesn't sound right. So they're both going to be released mid-January. So I just want to let folks know in mid-January, you can go to my website, coachdspeaks.com, coachdspeaks.com. You can go to our coaching for businesses. We have bossforyourbiz.com. You go to those sites, you'll see, again, bossforyourbiz.com. You'll see that information up there. But then also, I want to challenge people. If you say, I need to do this, I really do. If you go to our coachdspeaks.com website, on each of the pages, there's an opportunity for a 15-minute strategy call. That's all it is. When we talk about what your plans are, if you're an organization that need it for your people, or if you're an individual, say, I can use some of this coaching, go to our website, go to the page go to the section that says schedule a 15-minute strategy call. And one of myself or one of my teammates will talk to you. We're not selling you anything. We want to see what you need and see if it's a fit. And if it makes sense, then we can move forward. But if not, we just want to chat with you and maybe give you some tips to think about. So that's for anyone that's listening. Just go to the page, coachdspeaks.com, click down, go to the strategy session page, schedule time. And chances are you probably hear from me, but you may hear from somebody else on my team. So I don't know which one of us it'll be, but we're trying to listen. There's a saying to give and it shall be given unto you. We're giving, man. We care about people. And we want to see people better, man. I don't like this depression rate in the United States. I don't like the suicide rate. I don't like that. And I think globally we're still having some issues with that. We need self-care because you know what? It's not about just loving myself. It's about making myself a priority.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have spoken well. And to sum it up, which you can, I would want your last words on this one is about that, maybe this way people will understand it better. As you have said it, self-care is a precursor to wealth and wellness, and it is also fuel for the body. Help us understand, sum it up for the viewers so that, they can remember these words of yours, words of Coach D, which will help them get into this journey of self-care.
Let me say this to you. When we say self-care is a precursor to wellness, what we're saying is, I want them to hear this. It's like I'm speaking right to everyone. You count. You are so important to yourself, to those around you, that guess what? Just like you will take care of that expensive car that you have, just like you'll take those nice clothes you have to the cleaners, just like you'll clean up your home, just like listen, take time for you. Take care of yourself. Because, listen, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound a little bit selfish. I'm not trying to discount the love for other people, but do it for you. Do it so that you can have peace of mind. Do it that you can. I love waking up every day with a peace of mind. I don't carry stuff because I understand that Darrell matters. And so since Darrell matters, I can come on your show and do an interview. Since Darrell matters, I can be loving to my children. Since Darrell matters, I can be with my wife for 30 years, where so many people I know have been divorced 10 times. I'm still married. I mean, it's just, man, because why? I'm very content in who I am. And I want other people to do the same. And so, again, take advantage of some of the opportunities. I hope you listen to this show over and over and over again. This man has a masterclass. This is fantastic. I get back on your show again, man. This is good what you do. I really appreciate what you're doing. And listen to his show and share this with people. Share it, because this is a serious message. And this wonderful host has tapped into something that globally we need. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be the person to kick the year off with such a pertinent message. So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful message. Thank you for all the good talk about self-care. I am sure a lot of people will start taking a bit more care about themselves and increase it in the coming years. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.